record on his computer. And of course, at the start of all my sessions, I have to, let everybody know I'm not a finance professor. We're all doing this together. So I'll guarantee you I'll make math mistakes on this because they are math loaded questions. So don't get mad at me, but we're going to figure it out and we're going to get it eventually. So we are going to start with 19. Caitlin Markets is debating between a levered and an unlevered capital structure. The all equity capital structure would consist of 60,000 shares of stock. The debt and equity option would consist of 45,000 shares of stock and of stock plus 250,000 of debt with an interest rate of 7.25%. What is the break-even level of earnings before interest and taxes between the two options? We're going to ignore taxes on this one. So the equation we are going to focus on is our break-even, which is our earnings before interest and tax over our number of shares. And this is our no debt. This is like equity. And this has to equal earnings before interest and tax minus interest. My handwriting is terrible. I'm sorry, but I also have to squeeze these in here because these math loaded questions are going to take a lot of space. And this is also over number of shares. I'm also going to get a new marker because I don't like this one. But not with the other marker. Let's try this one. I think this is my trusty marker. And this one is with debt. Yeah. Right. All right. So now we are trying to find our break-even level. Our break-even is our earnings before interest and tax for both of these options. So both of these are going to be X's. I use X's because that's kind of standard for algebra of a variable that we don't know, but we want to know. So we're going to set this question up. And again, I'm going to have to erase this and fidget around 1,000 times to get this to fit. But I'll go slow so we can pause the video or whatever is needed whenever we go back so we can keep up. So first we're going to set up our equation. So again, earnings before interest and tax is what we're looking for. So we're going to set this up. We're going to have X over our no debt is 60,000 shares. And that equals X minus our interest, and our interest is 7.25%, so that's 0.0725 over, was that 45,000? 45,000 shares, yeah. All right, now the fun part is we now have to solve for X. This is where things get terrible. I'm going to show you the way I do it. I don't know of another way besides plugging it into like a scientific calculator. Actually, you can't because you have variables. So we'll walk through it slowly. It's going to be very rough though. First, let's get rid of these bottoms, right? So we're going to multiply each side by the opposite bottom, right? So when we do that, we're going to get 45,000x equals 60,000 times x minus 0.0725, right? So now we have to break this down further. We want to get this 60,000 over here. So when we do that, we're going to have 60,000x minus Let's get a calculator. D123 times 0.0725. Hold on 1 second. That is not. Oh, wait, hold on.
That's your interest, right?
Yes, this is our percentage, but I actually have to subtract our interest, which would be 250,000 times 0.0725. Yeah, okay. So this is not the percentage. I'm sorry, this is the actual interest, like how much we are paying in interest. So what we would do is we have $250,000 of debt and an interest rate of 7.25%. So we're going to multiply 250,000, 250K times 0.0725. And that gives us 18,125. 18,125. 18,125. Sorry about that. So now we'll do 60,000 times 18,125. And that gives us a lot of zeros. 1 billion. Is that 1 billion? Yeah, 1,087,500,000. Again, I'm sorry. This is very 87,500. 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom, boom. And that equals 45,000 X. Is everybody tracking so far? All right. So now what we want to do when you're doing algebra, you want to get like variables together, X and X. And also remember what we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. Okay, so here we have 60,000 X and we're subtracting that by this 1,087,500,000. We want to get this out of here. So we're going to add both sides by this number, right? And I'm going to show this simultaneously just to save a little space. So as we add this to both sides, we are going to subtract this 45,000 X from both sides as well. And that's going to put these like variables together, minus 45, minus 45. All right. So when we do that, we'll have 1,087,500,000 equals, was this 15,060 minus 45? Yeah, so this equals 15,000 X. Right? So what we're saying here is we're really just saying 15,000 times our variable X. To do the opposite of that, we'll divide this whole equation by 15,000. Right? So when we do that, we get X by itself. And when we do that, divided by 15,000, we get this. One, 0,87,500, 1, 2, 3, divided by 15,000. We get X equals 72,500. This X, we remember, is our earnings before interest and taxes. So we're saying that is $72,500, which, since we found X for both sides, this is our break-even point, and that's the answer. Is everybody tracking that? Very math loaded. The difficult part is breaking it down to here. When you're here, you're set. It's very simple. You add, subtract, and divide, and then we get our earnings, and that's what we're looking for. Any questions on that? We'll move into question 20. Holly is currently an all equity firm that has 7,200 shares of stock outstanding at a market price of $41 a share. The firm has decided to leverage its operations by issuing 60,000 of debt at an interest rate of 7.6%. This new debt will be used to repurchase shares of outstanding stock. The restructuring is expected to increase the earnings per share. What is the minimum level of earnings before interest and taxes that the firm is expecting? And again, this is the same one. We're looking for a break-even point, but there are some twists here, right? So they are using their debt to buy back the number of shares. So what do we know? Our earnings, we don't know that. So we have X over what, 7,200 shares? 7,200 equals, again, we don't know our earnings, minus our interest rate, which is 7.6% of 60,000 times 0.076 equals 4,560 over 7,200, because we have these shares outstanding, right? However, 100, we're going to multiply that by let me see here. We're going to subtract this. It's going to be 72,000 minus 60, dang it. It's going to be minus 60,000 divided by 41. So what are we looking at here? 60,000 is the amount of money we borrowed to repurchase stock, right? And we're buying back at $41 a share because that's the share price. So we're going to do 60,000 divided by 41. That's going to give us some ridiculous number. So we're going to subtract 7,200 minus 1,463.4146. And the reason I'm going this far back is because through our equation, this will make a difference of, I think it's like $3,000. The decimals will make a difference in the long run. So we're just going to carry them for now. So we're going to do 7,200 minus 1,463.4146 equals. That gives us, so I'm going to bring this down. We're going to have X over 7,200. And if y'all can't see it anytime, just let me know. I'll try and get out the way so you guys can, but just in case. X minus 4,560 over 5,736.5854. Right? So now we're just going to solve this the same way. Going to multiply both sides by these denominators. I think that's what they're called. Pretty sure that's the bottom. And that'll give us 5736.5854x equals 7,200. And I'm going to go ahead and just bust this out now to save a little space. Or what I would do is I put a parentheses. I'll do it anyways. Parentheses x minus 4560. Right? This, we're going to multiply both things in the parentheses by this, which will give us 7,200 x minus times 4,560 equals 32,832,000 minus 32,832,000. And then of course, this part will be the same. It'll just drop down, right? Is everybody tracking? So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to flip these just like I did before, but I'm going to move it over here. Again, I'm very tight on space. So when I do that, we're going to add both sides by this 32 million. I'm going to get 32,832,832. And then I'm going to subtract both sides by this 5736 number, the x. Remember, we like variables. So I'm going to subtract 7,200 minus 5736.5854 equals, this equals 1463 point 4146, and there's an x here too, 4146x. Okay. Now what we're going to do is divide both sides by this 14. Divide by this 1463.4146. That gives us x equals 32,832,1000 divided by 1463.4146 equals 22,435. And here we're talking money, so here I will round it up just to 20. Or in his case, he doesn't use cents, so it will just be 20,435. That's the minimum level of earnings that we're expecting. I'm sure that's hard to see. I'm sorry. Are there any questions?
Where did we get the 4560 from?
That's our interest. So we take our interest rate of 7.6% and multiply that by our debt, which is 60,000. So it'll just be 60,000 times 0.076. And that's how much we pay in interest.
Thank you.
Is everybody good with that?
Need to practice that one.
Yeah, these are a lot of math.
I'm not even like trying to pretend, guys. Like there's 5 equations that I'm like, nah, I'm going to absolutely do my best and I'll have it figured out for the problem, but these are like a little bit of doozies, you know?
Mhm. Oh, for sure.
And on the exciting note, we get to do it a third time. Does everybody want to see this one? You guys want to see this one worked out?
100%.
Okay. So it's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead. Paradise Travels is an all equity firm that has 9,000 shares of stock outstanding at a market price of $27 a share. Management has decided to issue $25,000 worth of debt and use the funds to repurchase shares of the outstanding stock. The interest rate of the debt will be 7.3%. What are the earnings per share at the break-even level of earnings before interest and taxes? So the big thing that we have to pay attention to is he says, what are the earnings per share? When we're going through this, remember our variable X is earnings before interest and tax. So we have to then, at the end of this, change that into our earnings per share. So first it will be X over number of shares, which is 9,000. That equals X minus 25,000 times 0.073, 1825 over. This is another one where we're taking our money and we are buying back our shares of stock. So it will be, this will be 9,000 minus, is that 25,000? 25,000 divided by $27 a share. So we'll break this one down. We'll do 25,000 divided by 27. And this will give us 925.9259. 59, right? And this is still X equals, wait, hold on. Wait just 1 second. Don't write it down yet. I made a mistake. Minus 1825. This is this part. We still have to subtract it from 9,000. So it'll be 9,000 minus 925.9259. That gives us 8,074. So this will be 8,074.0741. So remember the 900 we got was from dividing this, and we're subtracting from our current outstanding stock. All right. Again, we'll solve this just like before. We'll cross these, so we'll have 8,074.0741 x equals, and I'm just going to go ahead and multiply this out. I'm not going to write it to try and save space, so it'll be 9,000 x minus 1642525 16 million, right? And we'll do the same thing. We'll combine these, so that we'll bring this 16 million over here. we'll subtract this 8,074 number from 9,000. I think that's it. Sorry, I'm just looking over this real quick, just to make sure. Well, we'll work it out and see what happens anyways. I'm pretty sure I'm on it, but I threw myself off because the number we got here is the number we're just going to wind up using down here, which is, yes, is just the difference between the two. So I just confused myself for a second. I just noticed that. Right. So we're here, 925.9259x. We're going to divide both sides by this 925. And we'll get x equals, we'll do 16425 divided by 925.9259 equals, that'll give us x equals $17,739. Right? And again, this is our earnings before interest and taxes. So he's now wondering, what is the break even level? So what we'll do is we'll take that number and divide it by our shares of stock, which is this 807474. I think he used the 9,000. Hold on, I'm going to run it anyways. 074. That's not, hold on a sec. No, we got to divide it by the 9,000. So what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll divide it by 9,000. And that'll give us the answer, 17739 divided by 9,000, which is 1.97. So just whenever you get the earnings before interest and taxes, just divide it by the number of shares with no debt. 9,000, it'll give you your answer. Everybody good with that one? So for 22, Lamont Corp is debt-free and has weighted average cost of capital of 12.7%. The current market value of equity is 2.3 million and there are no taxes. According to M&M Proposition 1, what will be the value of the company if it changes to a debt to equity ratio of 0.85. Since the current market value of equity is 2.3 million, then with the proposition change and the debt to equity change, it'll still be 2.3 million. That's just because as he says by his definition, which I have written here, as more debt is used, ROE increases, which is our return on equity, and changes in the debt versus equity offset. So our weighted average cost of capital will be the same. Are there any questions on that? Now we are back to more fun math. All right, so ignoring taxes, pewter and glass has a weighted average cost of capital of 10.82%. The company can borrow at 7.4%. What is the cost of equity if the debt to equity ratio is 0.68? So we're going to use our cost of equity equation, which is RE equals RA plus parentheses RA minus RD parentheses times our debt to equity. So the RA is our weighted average cost of capital. These are our variables. We're just going to plug it in, which I'm going to do over here. So we've got 0.1082 plus parentheses 0.1082 minus our interest rate of debt, which is 0.074 parentheses times our debt to equity, which is 0.68. Right? So now we just solve the equation. 0.10. So again, we're going to start, PEMDAS, we're going to start in the parentheses. And PEMDAS is parentheses, exponents, which we don't have any. Multiply, divide, add, subtract. That's the order you are supposed to do these equations in. So we're going to start in our parentheses and subtract this. So 0.1082 minus 0.074 equals, this gives us 0.0342. We're then going to multiply 0.68 times that number times 0.68. That gives us 0.1082 plus 0.03256. And then we add those together. Wait, no, that's 0.1082 equals, we get 0.1456. I'm sure we'll round up, so this will be a 5. Move this to 13.15 or 1.35. Everybody good? The challenging part when we get into these is just knowing which equation to use when. Yeah, so at the end of this, I'll go over some more points here that I would like to. Moving on to 24. Winters Toy Land has a debt to equity ratio of 0.57. The pre-tax cost of debt is 8.2%, and the required return on assets is 14.7%. What is the company's cost of equity if you ignore taxes? Move my worksheet. And this is the same equation. So we'll just plug it in. So we have our return on assets, which is 0.147 plus parentheses 0.147 minus our debt, which is 0.082 times our debt to equity, which is 0.57. Right? We'll solve it the same way, start in the parentheses. 0.147 minus 0.082, 0.065. We're then going to multiply these times 0.057 equals hold on, I messed up. Times 0.57. Yeah, 0.57 is that'll be 0.03705. We're going to add that by 0.147 plus 0.147. And that'll give us 0.18405. Or if we round up to 4 decimal places, 0.1841. Any questions on that one? Pretty straightforward. The next one, I'm going to pause this for a second. Actually, we are going to jump into 26 now. LA Clothing has expected earnings before interest and taxes of 63,300, an unlevered cost of capital of 14.7%, and a combined tax rate of 23%. The company also has $11,000 of debt that carries a coupon rate of 7%. The debt is selling at par value. What is the value of this company? Exciting. We get to look at the value of companies. For this one, let's see here. So it's got both. So we're going to start with our unlevered value, which is VU equals earnings before interest and taxes times our tax, 1 minus our tax, divided by our rate of our cost of capital, which is our RU. Okay. Then to get the value of the company, we have to find the debt that's included as well. And that would be a VL, get our levered value, which is our VU plus our debt times our tax. So we got to find this one first because this equation is going to plug in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our earnings before interest and taxes. 63,300. We're going to multiply that 1 minus 0.23. See, we're going to divide that by 0.147. Okay, so we're just going to solve through this equation. First, what I'm going to do is the parentheses 1 minus 0.23. That'll give us 0.77. I'm now going to multiply the 63,300 by that times 0.77. That gives us 48,741. We're going to divide that by our 0.147. And that gives us $331,571. I'm going to take it all 4286 just because I want to make sure I get the most precise answer. So now I'm going to take this. This is my VU. I'm going to take that and plug it into my equation here. So I'll have 331,571.4286. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our debt. The company has $11,000 of debt and multiply that by our tax. So it'll be 11,000 times 0.23, which will give us plus 2530. And that gives us plus 331,571.4286. So give us 101.43. I rounded up. It would really be this number, but I just rounded it up. Is everybody tracking on that one?
Yep.
Cool. Easy. Do you guys want to run through the tax shield ones? Are y'all good on those? Do you want to do one and then skip the other ones?
I don't want to take everyone's time, but like I feel like the tax shield ones I feel like pretty good with.
I did too. But what does everyone else think? We could go
I'll,
through it.
Yeah, I'll just put this one up here real quick. Tax savings. I wrote that one too big.
I might be printing the entire test of these, by the way.
Huh?
I feel like I would be really excited if the entire test consisted of the tax shield equations.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's so much simpler.
Well, I just feel like, yeah, like there's like no weird areas where I'm like, very cutthroat, like, well, it's not cutthroat, it's just like cut and dry versus some of the other ones where I feel like, I don't know, like even for the module 5, I just felt like some of the equations were, they're not hard, it's just a little tricky. Like even when we're trying to determine, specific things for, was it the risk-free rate versus, I don't know, there were a couple little areas where I was like, okay, I need to like reread this and understand what every part of and every variable within an equation means,
Yeah, no, I get it. Whenever we get a lot of variables like the cost of equity we were doing before, it gets tedious. 0.665 parentheses 0.2, was that 0.21? And that's all that equation is. Let me double check to make sure. What number is this? 27. Oh, wow. I didn't write that one down. 565 times 0.0665 times 0.21. Yeah, 7890. So you just multiply this, then you multiply the number you get here by this one, and it comes out to 7890.23. Is everybody good on that? I'll skip some of these to move along.
I'm gonna have to drop, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks for joining.
Bye. Good luck, guys.
Bye.
We're gonna skip down to 30. Douglas and Frank has a debt to equity ratio of 0.61. The pre-tax cost of debt is 7.8%, while the unlevered cost of capital is 12.6%. What is the cost of equity if the tax rate is 21%? So this one is another variable filled, or just the challenging part is going to be understanding what all of these mean if you don't have them written in front of you. Plus parentheses R U minus R D parentheses times our debt to equity times our tax. Oh, wait, no. We've got to remove the tax from it, which would be 1 minus our tax. Right? So now we just plug in these variables. We would get 0.126 plus parentheses 0.126 minus our rate of debt, which is 0.078 parentheses times our debt to equity, which is 0.61 times 1 minus our tax, which is 21%, so 0.21. And now we just solve. So first I'm going to do 1 minus 0.21. That gives us 0.79 here. And then I'm going to do 0.126 minus 0.078 gives me 0.048 here. And then I'm just going to multiply these. So I'm going to multiply this times 0.61 And I'm going to multiply that number times the 0.29. Wait, no, this is a 7. 0.79. 79 gives us 0.126 plus 0.2311312. And then we just add those plus 0.126 equals 0.1491. Y'all good with that? Any questions?
I'm good.
Um, let me see here. Is it? All right, we'll go into 31, which I did not write the equation down. Wait, I think it's the same equation. Oh, check 31. I did write it down, actually. It's the same equation, which I just erased, so I get to write it again. Mountain Groves has an unlevered cost of capital of 13.2% and a cost of debt of 8.3% and a tax rate of 21%. What is the target debt to equity ratio if the targeted cost of equity is 14.5%? So it's the same equation I had just written here, so got to write it again. U plus parentheses RU minus RD parentheses debt to equity parentheses. So this is the one minus tax. This is the one that I struggled with 25 really bad, but then I came and did this one and I got it the first time. So it blew my mind. So we'll go ahead and just fill in what we know. We know our targeted equity is our targeted cost of equity is 0.145. We have our cost of capital 0.132 plus parentheses 0.132 minus our rate of debt, which is 8.3, so 0.083 parentheses we're trying to find our debt to equity, so that's going to be an X, 1 minus our tax 0.21 again, 0.21. So now we get to solve for X. Let's see how this one works. So we're going to do 0.132 minus 0.083 gives us 0.049 here. 0.049 X parentheses, this will be 1 minus 21 is 0.079. Or 0.79. This will be plus 0.132 equals 0.145. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract this 0.132 from both sides. And that's going to give me 0.049 x 0.79. And then I got to get this 0.145 minus 0.132. 0.013. All of these are multiplied by each other. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to multiply by x. I'm going to skip it, multiply this number by the 0.79. So I'm going to have 0.049 times 0.79. That'll give me 0.03871. X equals 0.013. Divide both sides by this 0.03871. And that will give me my X, which equals 0.013 divided by 0.03871. I hit the divide twice, 0.013 divided by 0.03871 gives me X equals 33.358. Don't know where my hand was going. 0.3358. Or X equals 0.34. Any questions on that one?
Nope, I actually got that one. Thank you.
Now the next two are just a lot of math. Johnson Tire Distributors has debt with both a face and market value of $35,000. The debt has a coupon rate of 6.6% and pays interest annually. The expected earnings before interest and taxes are $8,300. The tax rate is 21% and the unlevered cost of capital is 10.9%. What is the cost of equity? So in order to find this, we have to find our value of an unlevered firm, value of a levered firm, and then the value of the equity in those firms. And then we'll take that to get our debt to equity ratio to find our cost of equity. So there's a lot that goes on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our value of an unlevered firm, value of a levered firm, the value of our equity, we're going to find our, we're going to use this to find our debt to equity. I'm going to put it in here because it's important. And then we're going to use this to find not an equals, find an arrow. We're going to find our cost of equity. right? A lot of math. It's not that bad. So we have all of these equations, well, except the value of equity, but that's easy. So what we'll do is we're going to first find our VU. And again, we're just going to use the equations we have. So this will be 8,300 times our 1 minus 0.21 divided by 0.109. So remember, this is our earnings before interest and tax. This is our tax. And then this is our unlevered cost of capital. So what we're going to do is this will be 0.79. Multiply these. So 8,300 times 0.79 equals 6,557 divided by 0.109 divided by 0.109 gives us our VU of 6155.96. We're then going to I rounded this up, so we're going to do that just to not drag decimals this time. So I'm just gonna, it's close enough. We're gonna bump it up to 6 here. We're now gonna plug this into our VL equation. So VL is gonna equal our VU plus our debt and our tax rate. Our debt for this question is $35,000. We're gonna multiply that by our tax rate times 0.21. It gives us 7,350. So first, let me show this here. It's 35, 1, 2, 3 times 0.21 gives us 7,000, or no, 7,350. 7,350. We're gonna, this equals 7,350. So we're gonna add these to get our VL, which is the value of our firm, right? Plus 60,156 gives us 67,506. Now, y'all remember probably my favorite equation of all time. Assets equals liability plus equity. Going back to the roots, right? We found the value of our firm. The value of our firm is our assets. So now we have to find the value of our equity. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and subtract our debt, which is our liability. 35, 1, 2, 3 equals minus 35,000 equals 32,506. We are currently here, right? We found our unlevered value. We found our levered value. We just found the value of our equity, which is 32,506. Now we have to find our debt to equity ratio. Taking this back to the beginning, right? Our debt to equity ratio is just our debt divided by our equity. This is our debt, this is our equity. So we'll do 35,000 divided by 32,506 divided by 32,506 gives us 1.0. Let's call it. I'll take 767. Can y'all see that all right? I know my handwriting is terrible. It gets difficult when I have to write that low. My handwriting is garbage normally, but it gets worse as I have to write lower. So now we have our debt to equity ratio. All we have to do was plug all of this into our equation that we used into our cost of equity equation. And it's just a piece of cake.
Mm.
So our cost of equity is going to equal 0.109. That's our unlevered cost of capital plus, hold on, I'm going to erase some of this. You guys got this? I'm going to erase this so I have some more space. I probably should have kept that number, but I have it somewhere. The main number I need is our debt to equity, which is 1.0767. Yeah. So now we plug all of this into our cost of equity equation. Which is 0.109 plus parentheses 0.109 minus 0.66, which is our debt. And again, we'll have these equations written down, multiplied by our debt to equity ratio times our tax, which is 1 minus 0.21 again. Yep, 0.21. And we just solve it. 0.79. 0.109 minus 0.66. Is negative 0.551. Wait, no, this is 0.066. I wrote it as 66%. It is not. It is 6.6, so 0.066. Now it's going to make more sense. Minus 0.66. No, I did freaking same thing. 0.10 minus 0.066. 0.043. Right? So we're going to take this and multiply it by our debt to equity ratio times 1.0767, which will give us, so I'm going to multiply these, which will give us 0.046246. I'm going to put a 3 here anyways, just to make myself feel better. We're going to multiply that by 0.79 and then add that by our 0.109. So multiply that by times 0.79. It gives us 0.109 plus 0.036. I'm gonna round up. Let's see what that comes to. Plus 0.109 equals, when you add these, you get 0.14557. 4.1456. 14.5%. Y'all good with that one? It's not hard, it's just tedious. You're running through 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 different equations. It leaves a lot of room for error. If you mess up one part, the whole thing just collapses. So just very tedious. The next one is the same, except it adds weighted average cost of capital. So instead of ending here, you'll add one more and you'll get WACC. Which we'll just plug our cost of equity into. Do you guys want to run through this one?